this podcast is speaking to a lot of creators that are rarely good at being CEOs. And I can imagine us clipping this because one of the most common, if we actually now kind of focus on creator businesses, creators that had some success on YouTube, they've grown, and then they start getting tired, they start getting burnt out, and they lack the skill set of leadership, hiring, team. If you're coaching a creator that has that momentum, I think it was Colin and Samir called it an inverted pyramid, that also the creator is the business, right? And so if that individual now though, but now they're feeling overwhelmed, they got all this pressure on them, they're trying to keep it up. And we've even seen this recent Matt Pat quit YouTube after one of the biggest YouTubers, another 6 or 7, 4 million subs, 7 million subs, mainly being, I can't keep up this pace. I'm exhausted. And with due respect, they've probably saved millions and they can retire. And maybe it's, some people liken content creation to sports. Maybe you only have, depending on the pace of it, a certain number of years before you wear out. But I don't believe that. I think that you're maybe building wrong, but you don't even have the skill set because you're a creator. But how do you be a CEO? How would you coach somebody through maybe figuring out what they need to put into their life, whether adding skills or adding the right people or partnering in the right ways, if you were coaching a creator that wants longevity and doesn't want to burn out and figure out the next level of building out their ops?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting question because you have to make a decision. Like when you say that, for example, this quote by Kobe Bryant comes up to me, which he talks about most of the players. And he's like, once they get a certain amount of money or they hit a certain amount of fame or whatever it is, they kind of just check out. And he's like, this is going to be, it was some quote like, this is going to be so easy for me because that's not why I do this at all. And so I think for people who resonate with that, like myself, and they're like, I want to acquire the skills because it's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's not about this. It's actually about, I would say in a really weird way, and this is going to sound interesting, it's about having a different relationship with hard. And so like, I don't need to make content. You know what I mean? Like Alex makes enough content for acquisition.com. I don't need to do it. But for me, it's about doing things that are hard. And so whatever skill I do not have, if I want to acquire it because I think that it adds to my, I would say like life resume of what I want to be able to do and be capable of and skill set, then that's that. I think that that's a very small percentage of people that want to be able to do a lot of things. Like I look at people like, I mean, an interesting Arnold Schwarzenegger, The Rock, like people are like very good at multiple things, but like those people have a hunger that most people do not have. And I think if somebody has to ask the question, how do I get the skill to do both? You're already because if you have to ask that question, I wake up in the morning, it's not even a thought. I'm being dead serious right now. Me and Alex, like when we want something, when I want to be good at something, when I want to be exceptional, I don't have to engineer and write down my damn goals. I wake up and it's all I think about. I'm out to win. And so if you don't wake up like determined that you will win no matter what, do not try and do both. For most people, what most people should do is they should find somebody with those skills. And they should say, hey, you know what? Instead of getting really good at doing all this business stuff, why don't I just get really good at finding one partner? It's like, it's the same as, can you just find that one person to marry? Find that one person to partner with in business, but put all your effort into understanding what a good partner looks like, what a good partnership looks like, and the partner for you, rather than trying to find the skill of doing both, because you're not going to beat this person who literally will not stop. And so if you don't have that drive where you wake up every morning and you're like out to kill, then you need to find a partner. Because I do think that to a degree, it's like 1 + 1 = 11. A great partnership can do so much more than like trying to grit your way through getting the skills when you're not really that motivated. And so I would say that that is 100% what I would suggest those people do. I have talked to a lot of really big creators with like, you know, multi 8-figure followings, like celebrity status. And the amount of people who try to take on the business and half-ass it because it's not what they're about. It's not why they got into this. They didn't get into content to be a business owner. They got into content because they liked making content. And honestly, I think they like the notoriety. They like the fame. They like the feedback from the audience. And that's cool. Just do more of that. And so I think that in those instances, they need to focus in on understanding what makes a good partnership. And I think it's incredibly similar to what makes a great marriage. And I can tell you this after observing, like partnering with lots of companies and having like a marriage, having friendships. When I look at a partnership that works well, it is not one person that is more powerful than the other. I actually think those are set up to fail. And I think that what they do is eventually if somebody is more powerful than the other person, eventually, especially if this person it changes the dynamic and then there's resentment. And so the best partnerships, in my opinion, are when two people who are equally powerful in different domains come together and make an agreement to bring their skills to the table. So then it's essentially, if you look at like negotiation, it's you have something I want and you have something I want, and I would like to trade so that we can give it to each other. And so I think that in those instances, a content creator would need to look for somebody who is equally as competent in the opposite domain. And so you have to be able to, one, have the self-awareness to understand how good are you at making content? How many followers do you have? Because if you've got, I don't know, only, let's just say 20,000 followers, like you're not going to partner with Elon Musk. Let's just be real. He doesn't give a shit. And so, but if you're Mr. Beast, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg picks up the phone for Mr. Beast. Elon Musk talks to Mr. Beast. And so I would be thinking, it's kind of the same as dating. Like say I'm an 8. Where's my 8? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what people have to do, because what I've seen is that, like, for example, I have people who come to us and they're like, hey, I really want to partner. And I'm like, but you're a 3. It's just not going to work.
Totally.
And so it's like, people need to understand that are making content. They need to be able to have the self-awareness to diagnose, like, what am I on a scale of 1 to 10? Like, how hot of a girl at the bar am I?
Yeah.
And then, okay, cool. So what's my pool look like over here of people who are in business that I could attract? And I think once you really understand the type of person that you would work well with and that you would have an equitable exchange with, that's when you have the unlock. And then you start going to town and trying to find the person.
There's probably some fear that comes up because there's like a quote that says the problem with partnerships is most of them sink.
Uh-huh.
And maybe because this is such a native territory or unknown territory that creators they're tired, they're overwhelmed, they're desperate. I've heard one person I trust say, never partner out of insecurity.
Uh-huh.
Never partner. I mean, you should probably never partner out of the wrong reasons. You following what you're saying. If people were thinking about wanting to go a little bit deeper on figuring out finding the right partner, and here's a specific question for you. If you are already established, let's say you got 1 million followers, you got 1 million subscribers, brand deal money coming in, let's say you've got multiple 6 figures coming in, but you're also, and a partner's coming to you, is 50-50 outrageous? When they start thinking, I'm going to partner with somebody, I've built this over the last 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, I'm established, but I do need this whole other skill set. For the person listening, what does partner mean? Am I giving them equity? Am I just paying them a lot? When you say partner, are we now coming into this? Obviously, the terms in the unique situation could vary greatly, but for those fears, like maybe rush into it, give up too much, make a bad partnership, and now they have huge regret. And actually, this is kind of common because maybe it's the old, rappers and record companies. Creators are largely ignorant because they're really good at being creators, but there could be they're unsure of these details.
I think it's a really great question. I think there's different ways the partnership could look. I would say that it depends on, again, what is equitable. And so how would you value the skills that the person's bringing to the table? And so for somebody who's already making money, I think there's a couple different ways that you could do it. A lot of partnerships, when something's already established, you can just form a new company where you each contribute 50% of your current assets to it, and that creates the 100 of the new thing, right? I tend to say, okay, so ideal scenario is that it is 50-50. Because here's the thing. It's really hard for me when people say, they're like, but I've built it to here, right? Because guess who hears that all day, every day? Me. They're like, but I've built it to 3 million. And I'm like, yes, and I will build it to 100. So 1, I don't give a fuck about $1.5 million, dude.
Yeah.
But 2, I care about what we're going to make thereafter. And it is fair if it's 50-50. If not, I should own more. You know what I mean? And so I think it's understanding what got you here won't get you there. If you have to give up 50% of a very small number to get 50% of a much bigger, if you have to give up your 50% and trade it of the very small number to take the chance that you might get it of a very big number, maybe it's worth the trade. The reason that I think it doesn't work out most of the time is because this is what people do. They're like, I really need a partner. And because now they're thinking about it, they go to some event and they meet some guy and he's like, dude, we should partner. And then you're like, wow, he's available. Like if you look at most marriages, how they occur, it's literally like, you're like, oh, I really want to get married. And then the next guy you date, you just are like, yeah, this is him. It's not actually that he's the right person to marry. It's that he's conveniently appeared into your life at the right time. And so a lot of people get into partnerships in business because of timing and because of convenience, not because of any sort of decision making. And then people say partnerships are bad. And I'm like, well, of course you have. In what premise did you make the decision? Can you show me one piece of paper to which you wrote out if this partnership makes sense? Never. Yeah. They can never show me a piece of paper because guess what? They write jack down. And I'm like, when I'm looking at a partnership, I have spreadsheets full of like 10 tabs, 15 tabs of decision-making like frameworks to put together like an analysis of should I partner with this person or not?
Yes.
You know?
Okay.
And so I think a lot of the times we take an emotional or either people don't think at all and they're just like, this is convenient, or they take a very emotional approach to it. It was like, I really like this guy. It's like, okay, well, do you have 50% like him? Is he going to be able to take you to 100 million? Has he ever taken anybody to 100 million? Has he even taken a business to 100 million before? You know, like if I were a creator and I already had income and a business person who has, say, for example, built a business to 100 million before, and I'm making, you know, let's say 400 grand a year off of my content. And this person says, hey, give me 50% and I'll build the business to attach to the content. I do that deal all day. Because guess who hasn't taken their content to 10 million views, right? But hey, this business guy thinks that he can help build it to here. Like, sounds like a good deal. And so I think that when you start, you need to stop counting other people's money and start counting yours. And the moment that you count other people's money in a deal, like, well, if I make this much, he's going to make this much off this deal. Yes, and that's the point. Like, if you want to succeed more, you also need to be the type of person who wants everybody else involved with you to succeed more as well. And you should be happy giving them more money. Yes. And if you're not, then it's probably not the right partnership.
If you enjoyed this podcast and are ready for some deep dive YouTube strategy, just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to my 1 hour on-demand YouTube strategy class. You'll be looking over my shoulder as I share my best tips, and you can watch it on demand right now at thinkmasterclass.com.